Genesis 18 verse 1. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. God visits Abraham in a significant encounter. Genesis 18 verse 2. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried to meet them and bowed low to the ground. Abraham welcomes 3 visitors, a divine representation. Genesis 18 verse 3. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by." Abraham invites the visitors to stay. Genesis 18 verse 4. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. Abraham offers hospitality to the visitors. Genesis 18 verse 5. Let me get you something to eat, so you can be refreshed. So they said, very well, do as you say. The visitors accept Abraham's offer. Genesis 18 verse 6. Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. Quick, he said. Get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread. Abraham ensures the best hospitality. Genesis 18 verse 7. Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf and gave it to a servant, who hurried to prepare it. Abraham goes above and beyond to serve his guests. Genesis 18 verse 8. He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared, and set these before them. Abraham provides a lavish meal for the visitors. Genesis 18 verse 9. Where is your wife Sarah? They asked him. There, in the tent, he said. The visitors inquire about Sarah, initiating the prophecy. Genesis 18 verse 10. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son. The promise of Isaac's birth is reaffirmed. Genesis 18 verse 11. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. Their age emphasizes the miraculous nature of the promise. Genesis 18 verse 12. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? Sarah doubts the promise, revealing her disbelief. Genesis 18 verse 13. Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I am old? God addresses Sarah's doubt. Genesis 18 verse 14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. God affirms his power and the certainty of the promise. Genesis 18 verse 15. Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, I did not laugh. But he said, yes, you did laugh. God gently confronts Sarah's denial. Genesis 18 verse 16. When the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. The scene shifts to Sodom's impending judgment. Genesis 18 verse 17. Then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? God considers revealing his plans for Sodom to Abraham. Genesis 18 verse 18. Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. God reflects on Abraham's pivotal role in his plan. Genesis 18 verse 19. For I have chosen him, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord. God highlights Abraham's responsibility to uphold righteousness. Genesis 18 verse 20. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin so grievous. God announces his intention to investigate Sodom's wickedness. Genesis 18 verse 21. I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. God speaks of examining Sodom's sin firsthand. Genesis 18 verse 22. The men turned away and went toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham stays to intercede for Sodom. Genesis 18 verse 23. Then Abraham approached him and said, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Abraham begins his plea for Sodom. Genesis 18 verse 24. What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away? Abraham questions God's justice. Genesis 18 verse 25. Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? Abraham appeals to God's justice and mercy. Genesis 18 verse 26. The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake." God agrees to spare Sodom if 50 righteous are found. Genesis 18 verse 27. Then Abraham spoke up again. "Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes." Abraham humbly continues his intercession. Genesis 18 verse 28. What if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Abraham reduces the number, and God agrees to spare the city for 45 righteous. Genesis 18 verses 29 to 32. Abraham continues reducing the number until God agrees to spare the city for 10 righteous people. Genesis 18 verse 33. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. The intercession ends, and God departs.